Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, Paranormal Portal Podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Hello, all you dear people. Hello, welcome, gatekeepers, Uncommon Belief, Monica, Maraid, my beautiful mermaid, Laura, my wonderful unicorn, Anne, Oracles, Cassie, I love you, Vixen. Tonight, I welcome in one of the dearest people that the paranormal has ever allowed me to meet. I'll tell you, when the universe brought this one on, it was a great day. Dan Baldwin is so special in so many ways. Now, he's going to be mad at me for saying this, but it's the truth. He is an author of over 60 books. He has ghostwritten many. He has wonderful series to tell about the wonderful Arizona desert that he has lived in and grown to know so well. He is also one of the nameless angels in the background that go looking for the missing, the lost, in this vast, beautiful spiritual land in Arizona. It's absolutely beautiful, as you see in that video there I put together, so you could get an idea of these people with gifts go in and look for people in places that you wouldn't believe, rattlesnake infested, crevices you can fall in, the heat of the desert and the cold of the night. So, without further ado, I bring you someone I call a psychic investigator with true grit, my friend, Mr. Dan Baldwin. Come in here, Dan.
How are you?
Hello, love.
After that beautiful intro, I think I'm just going to call it quits and bow out while I'm ahead.
Good night, everybody.
So, it's been great.
Mwah. I love you so much, my friend. Thank you so much for doing this. Bye. Absolutely, I meant every word. True grit is something I don't throw around very often, but this is the deal. There will be no BS tonight. This is going to be from the heart with the most gracious intent. Dan, tell us a little bit how you got into this late in life. Did you not, when you started finding the gifts for of connecting with spirit?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, darling.
Yeah, you're coming in and out, but basically, I've said so in many of my books, my psychic books. I consider myself a psychic on training wheels. I came to it very, very late in life. I was 50 years old before I started doing that. And the brief story is, at one point at night, I walk around the neighborhood at night, just kind of dumping the trash from the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I had a commanding voice tell me in no uncertain words, "Go find missing children." It was undeniable. I'm not a medium. I'm not a clairaudient. I don't hear voices. I can't see dead people. And the command, I mean, it wasn't a suggestion. It was a command. And it would not leave me. I mean, it just hammered the back of my head for about 3 months. And I did the obvious thing, looked up and said, show me a door. I'll walk through it. I got to do something. And about at that point, it hit me. I'm not a cop. I'm not an investigator. I'm not a private eye. No training in finding people. Pretty good at researching, but not at researching missing persons. And it hit me that in my family, we've always talked about there's a psychic thread through half the family. Well, why don't I give that a try? I got nothing to lose, and it might work. And one thing led to another, and I discovered pendulum dowsing, and figured out I can do that. And from there on, I just kind of snowballed, and that's how I got started. That led to finding missing persons, solving the occasional crime, which led to investigating haunted places, and then that led to contacting spirits.
It's amazing how it starts to unfold when I think almost like our consciousness is ready for it. I think that's
Exactly.
why it comes later in life
Yeah.
to a lot of us, because that's when we can handle the responsibility of it, because it really is a responsibility. And I know, Dan, you feel the same way. It's like people say, well, if you guys can tell the future, tell whatever, why don't you give me the lottery numbers? Why don't you help me find, say, dead man's lost mind,
Right.
Dutchman's lost mind or something, because it would be
To me,
defacing the gift.
it's an abuse of the gift
Yeah,
for
there you
me.
go.
Yeah, I don't knock what anybody else does, but for me,
Right.
to try to make money off of it that way would be an abuse of the gift. I'm not supposed to do it that way.
Right, right, and that's exactly how I feel. And a lot of people in this chat tonight, Dan, they're looking so forward to you being here tonight, because they all feel the same way. They're paranormal investigators. They're people with gifts that later in life were able to start to hone it. We've got young ones in here that are just starting to get into noticing that they have abilities here, beyond the intuition. I think we all have. We all
Right.
hone it in different ways, and I think that happened to you too when you came upon wonderful people, Dwight and Rhonda Hall, who also have gifts, and you guys
Right.
had a love of history, and you kind of sort of got together there. Tell us a little bit about that, because it's so interesting going about talking to the dead, of course, about the history when they were alive. So interesting. Tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
Well, we got together and decided, they're mediums, and I'm a pendulum dowser, and we were friends, and we decided just to let's give this a try. Let's try your mediumship in combination with my pendulum dowsing, and by golly, it worked. And so, we went around different, ghost towns, abandoned mines, abandoned ranches, sacred sites, and did a lot of work. And we got 2 books out of it.
Yeah,
And
fascinating
since then,
books.
I've kind of gone off on a different track, but that's how it started.
Right. And it was so interesting finding out about, the history from, like the
Oh,
book said,
fascinating.
from outlaws and miners and pioneers that came through. What were some of the things that you learned from the common people there about what it was like during that time to live?
Um, well, I characterize myself not as so much a psychic researcher. I'm more of a reporter. It's just the people I report on aren't physically here.
Yeah.
So it's just real interesting. You get to talk to people as you would, and you don't get an awful lot of brilliant insights and flashes from what it's like, and answers to the greatest questions in the world. Although that does come up, mostly you get to talk about what it was like back then. And one of the things that I learned most, your viewers might be most interested in, is the number of options you have available once you cross over.
Amazing.
In other words, it's not a matter of you die, you cross over, and you're going over here or you're going over there. It's like, what do you want to do? You have all of these options that you can go for. And may I plug a book?
Oh, please do. In fact, I have a please go ahead. Oh, it's wonderful. Paranormal Pendulum 2. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that is the latest book, and the reason I'm plugging that is I did a book called the Paranormal Dowsing, Paranormal Pendulum Dowsing the Deceased, which is a small book, and it's basically a how-to book. If you're interested in contacting the spirit world, it's how you can use the pendulum to contact the spirit world. Well, out of that, I went to Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana conducting the paranormal research, because I wanted to make that book really, really rich with a lot of information. And after I did the little book, how-to book, it occurred to me, wow, I've got a lot of information here on a lot of subjects that people are going to be really interested in. So I took all the interviews that I did over probably a 2-year period, and I organized them into subject matter. What's it like going through the light? What's it like on the other side? Is there something to reincarnation? What are orbs?
Right.
Do cavemen go to crossover, that sort of thing. And that came out. That's the latest book, and
Uh-huh.
it's chock full of really intriguing stuff, and a lot of it was surprising to me. But the options was the real big surprise.
Right, right. And that absolutely gets me too, but if you think about it, Dan, we've spoken before
I
about this,
can't
how
hear you.
simple. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see here. Maybe I've hit my 1 second. Okay, can you hear me now? You got me now? Can you hear me now?
I cannot hear you.
Not at all? Okay. Hold on 1 second, honey. Let me see if I can go out, come in. You should be. All right, let's see here. Should be fine on my side, hon. You should be good on yours. You're unmuted. You're not hearing me at all? Go out and come back in if you can hear me. Let me see here. I don't have anything to write on, and it would be backwards anyway. Go out here. Let me see if you can get a private chat here. Hang on there, gatekeepers. Okay, let's see if you get that. Okay. Go out, come back in. Go out, come back in again. We'll do this old-fashioned way, but it's going to be backwards. Oh, can you see that? No. Go out, come back in. He's not able to see it. Go out, come back in. All right, you know what? I'm going to call him on phone. This is funny, guys. Hang in there, gatekeepers. Talk amongst yourselves. Do, 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 do. I'm going to call him. Let me see here. This is terrible, guys. I'm sorry. Like I said, talk amongst yourselves. He's calling me.
Your call has been forwarded.
This is great. Great TV, guys.
Your call has
Hang
been
in there.
forwarded to an automated.
He's hanging up. Go out and come back in, sweetheart.
Your call has been forwarded to an.
I don't know why it's not answering.
Your call has been forwarded.
All I'm getting is a voice message here. Okay, let's see. Go out, hang up, and come back in. You go out. Okay.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging.
It's not working, honey. Let me send him an email. Hi, guys. How's everybody doing in the chat tonight? It's technology's great when it works, right? Let me send you an email. I got you, Dan. Hang in there, baby. We got you. Go out. Come back in. Okay. All right. Sent you an email. You should get that. Go out and come back in, and we'll see what happens. Because I'm connected. Hi, guys. You want me to play a video? Give me just a minute. For some reason, his phone is not answering.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated.
It just keeps going right straight to voicemail. All right. If I shut this off, he'll go away. So let me see if I can take him off and see if he'll come back in. Let me see if he'll come back in. Hi, guys. Can you guys sing along or something? Let's see. Spirit in the Sky. Did anybody know Spirit in the Sky? There you are.
Hey.
get through. It says it's muted on your end.
Okay, let me see here. All right, you got knocked out. Try to just follow back in and see what happens. It shouldn't be muted. I'm sorry, sweetie.
Hey, it happens.
Yeah, it does. Technology. You should pop right back in.
Let's see.
Because I didn't hit anything on this side.
Well, it's coming up. You're entering a broadcast studio. Yeah, I can see you.
Uh-huh.
But I could not.
Here you go. You're back. Let's see if you got your sound back. Hold on. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you on the phone.
Okay. Can you hear me over the thing? Let me see if
Say
I
something. Say something.
Can you hear me now?
I cannot hear a word over the computer.
All right. Let's see if we can do this then. Let's see if we can do this. Say something now. Let's see if the chat can hear you.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm talking on the phone now. Off the phone.
Okay, let's see if we can do this.
I can hear you on the phone. It says your host has muted your mic.
I don't know how in the world.
Let me see.
Yo, you're fine. If you're coming over the mic, I'm waiting to see if the chat says you're 5'5". If you're 5'5", we'll go like this.
Okay.
Because as long as you can hold the phone and hear me.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Okay, Vixen says that I can hear both of you fine. Uncommon Belief. Well, here we go. We've got two cans and a string, and we've got... Chad, if you guys are all right, I'd love to get this. You'd be able to talk to Dan, so we'll just go like this as long as we can. Does that sound good for you, Dan?
Whatever works for you works for me.
All right, sweetheart. Well, we were talking about learning from, a little bit about history, about a little bit what it was like for the miners and everybody there. Now, you guys were warned out of a mine once, weren't you? But out of caring.
Yeah, that wasn't it wasn't a hostile, get
Right.
out. It was a friendly, get out. This is not a place you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
We were way back in a mine, and it was under a highway, and traffic was going over the highway. So it wasn't smart for us to be back in there.
Right.
So, the get out was friendly.
And sometimes it is. I think a lot of times, Dan, ghosts are misunderstood. Now,
Exactly.
I know there's one, and I'm going to try to do this again. If this kicks it off, then just go to the next party, boys, because... But I wanted to show this. This meant a lot to Dan and I. This is another book that he has, They Are Not Yet Lost, and that's True Cases of the Psychic Detecting that you were telling us about, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Fantastic book. Out of all these cases, a lot of people, we hear stuff about Superstition Mountains and, of course, Arizona Desert, so many places to get lost. And there's been hundreds and hundreds of cases for you, has there not, Dan?
Yeah, and we lose people in the superstitions. We lose a couple every year.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you think it has, it's all terrain, or do you think that there's, some kind of leftover thing from the indigenous people there, that it is sacred and it's got some mysterious pockets to it? What do you think, Dan?
Well, that's a two-part question. One part, I think most people get lost out there and get into trouble because they're stupid. They make foolish mistakes.
Yeah.
They go out there and they get panicked, and it's extremely, extremely rugged out there. And in the summertime, it's deadly hot. So I think most of the people who get lost because they just make dumb mistakes. There are areas out there that are you can feel the supernatural presence.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are places all over the world like that. You walk in, and as soon as you step in there, you go, oh, yeah, there's something going on here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's the cover of the book we were talking about, Speaking with the Spirits of the Old Southwest. Now, this one he co-wrote with Rhonda and Dwight Hull.
Right.
Another
It's still in
wonderful,
print.
wonderful book, and terrific interviews with available on YouTube and stuff with all three of them. Wonderful insight and vantage points, I think, Dan. Really.
Yeah, and something we did that's unique in that book, and something I've carried on in my other books since. But not only do we tell what happened with the spirit interaction,
There's a little bit of history of the location. There's like, this is the location, this is what happened here, this is what's relevant to the investigation today. Then there's a little bit of about what it was like for us. We went out there, it was a hot day, we enjoyed the beautiful scenery, this strange thing happened. And then there's also the full transcript of the entire session. So if the reader can get a really, really good view of what it's like to actually conduct a session.
Yeah.
And I follow through with that. Again, the Paranormal Pendulum, too, is done exactly the same way.
And it's very informative, too, the way, you write about it, Dan. It's just, it's like you are. It's just to the point and no BS. And this is what happened. This is what I saw. This is what I heard. And this is what it turned out to be. And it's one amazing story after another.
Yeah, and when I speak to people, I do the chicken and peas circuit quite a bit, talking about this subject. And one of the things I tell people is, look, I'm not a missionary. I am not here to convince you of one thing or the other. I'm telling you what has happened to me, and here's the documentation, and you can take it or leave it.
Right. Yeah. And one of the most amazing things since our last talk, something I got very deeply emotion. It's a lot of this is very emotional because you're talking about people. And, it's people just like you and I, Dan, and that's how we approach it. And a lot of the people here that paranormal investigators, they understand that it's heart first, and they're talking to people, and they don't provoke, and they're respectful, just, and they get so much more good evidence and good communication, and that's what you've found as well, hasn't it been, Dan?
Yeah. One of the things people need to realize, especially you people who haven't done it before, but if you're about to go out and investigate a site, when you're going into a haunted house, you're still going into somebody's house. And you need to react as if you're going into somebody's house, because those people, the spirits, I don't believe they're trapped there, but they're visiting their home, they're inhabiting their home, and you should show respect as if you're walking in there, as if you were a guest in their home, because actually you are.
Absolutely true. And something else that we've seemed to unpeel over the years, when you're old timers like Dan and I, you learn a few things along the way, and
the hard way.
It's like that old saying about, how'd you get so wise? Well, I made a lot of bad decisions. Somehow I survived them all. That's how you get it. But you also find out that history is often twisted by those who are doing the telling. And there's a little town not far from Dan here called Tombstone. And being that they were so close, they did a lot of investigation. Well, there's a little bit about the Earps and the Clantons and that whole OK Corral thing there. Do you feel like telling a little bit about that, Dan? How it's a little flipped on that side, isn't it?
It depends, the sides are split. There is still an Earp faction, and there's still a Clanton faction, and they're not going to get together. I lean towards Wyatt Earp, and the reason I say that, and they're both sides. Like the Clantons were, they were businessmen. They had restaurants, they had ranches. They were also rustlers. Wyatt Earp was a lawman, but he was also at one time he worked in a bordello. He was also a horse thief. So, there's no pure white and black. But I lean towards Wyatt because he was always he always was on the side of the law. For example, Ike Clanton, Wyatt, when he died, he got a grand send-off in Hollywood, California, with some of the big stars of Hollywood at that day. Ike Clanton is buried somewhere in an unknown grave in northern Arizona. Died after committing a robbery. But the point is the sides are still divided after
all this time. And one of the casualties in all this was someone that you got to know a little bit, Celia Ann, better known as Maddie.
Maddie. Maddie's quite a story. Maddie has followed me since I did the initial research. She's shown up a couple of times.
Wonderful.
I was doing a presentation. I did a day-long seminar on pendulum dowsing up in Salt Lake City. And I started talking about Maddie, and all of a sudden I just felt this wave come through me. And I had to stop, and I teared up for a minute. But it was Maddie coming by just to say, hey, go ahead, tell the story.
That's amazing too when you get that wave, because I've had that happen to me. It's unmistakable. It's almost like having a warm spider webs walk through you. It's and a full body hug at the same time. It's an amazing feeling. But Maddie,
Yeah, you know when it happens, you know it.
you know it. You know it. And now the miraculous thing about this now, chat, this is one of those stories where we're finding that spirit often comes back and willfully helps others. And Maddie turned out at one time you thought she was stuck.
Right.
But tell us a little bit about that, Dan. It's amazing.
Well, yeah, Maddie she's a tragic figure. You know, Wyatt Earp abandoned her. You know, just left her. And she ended up in a place called Pinal City, which is right outside Superior, Arizona, about 20 miles from where I live right now. And her grave is still there. And to the credit of the people of Superior, Arizona, they are protective of her. You know, they are very protective of her. She ended up in Pinal City at the basically the end of the line. You know, she worked out of a crib. She was a prostitute.
Yep.
She was an alcoholic. She was hooked on laudanum. She also had had terrible teeth, so she was in constant pain.
Right.
Which explains the laudanum.
Right.
And she died a heartbreaking death. But we went to and we found Maddie, talked with her, and just felt the overwhelming sense of sadness. I mean, it was tactile. And we went back to we're going to free Maddie. We're going to tell her it's okay to cross over. Mm-hmm. And in discussing that, we determined quite quickly that she had already crossed over and had come back. And what she's doing now is helping other people who think they're trapped. She's helping them cross over.
Isn't that something? Now, I had to bring that up because I have to tell you this, Dan. In the interest of groups learning from groups and all of us learning from each other, the same thing has been happening in a little town in Pennsylvania here. Like-minded people getting together. Actually, Spirit's got it together, I think. It's in a little bed and breakfast right outside of Gettysburg. And now all the spirits that have been crossed over there are coming back to help all these children cross over that were orphans from the battles and soldiers that normally wouldn't listen. It's an amazing thing that we're learning, and Spirit's teaching us. So the dead are trying to teach the living here.
Yeah, I've got a slightly humorous story about that.
Go ahead.
About them trying to help us. Can you hear me?
I do. I hear you, yes.
Okay. Because a little sign that says mic is muted just popped up on the screen. But I was back in Texarkana, Texas with a good friend of mine, and he was having dreams of his grandfather. Mm. And for months, he said, it's unusual for me to dream about my grandfather over and over and over and over and over again. I think he's trying to talk to me. So I said, well, let's go out to the graveyard. And I wanted to see the family graveyard anyway. So they have an old family plot. The family's been there since like the 1850s. And they've got one of these small graveyards way, way, way back in the woods. It's well tended, well kept up. And we were there, and it turned out that we found Granddad. He wasn't at the graveyard. I think he showed up to the graveyard because we were there. Mm-hmm. He came from across over to see us because we just happened to be there. And it turns out that Granddad was very concerned because of the county was considering taking over the graveyard and moving all the graves.
Oh,
and my friend, my friend is very big in land ownership back there. And so he has some clout, and they were trying to tell him, make sure they don't move our graveyard. Mm. Yeah, and there was a funny story attached to that. My friend had a pendulum. I was teaching him how to sit down, got my pendulum out, turned on my recorder because I always record the sessions. Yeah, I hope for an EVP, but mainly I want to record everything that I say so I can transcribe it later.
Right.
And I'm sitting there, I turned it on and wait. My friend comes over and he says, I lost my pendulum. Pause. I said, what? He said, I can't find my pendulum. So I turned off the recorder, got up, we looked around. We couldn't find his pendulum. When I came back several days later and I'm playing back the recording, doing my transcript, a voice appears here. My friend says, I can't find my pendulum. And you can hear clear as a bell, it's by the truck. And then I said, you can't find your pendulum, it's by the truck.
Just clear as day, man. It's amazing.
They have their concerns, but they can also be helpful in everyday life.
Right, and I'm also like Maddie. I'm finding from many mediums and friends and people involved in this. That's one wonderful thing about this is so many different connections globally. That we all have where we can reach out to each other and say, hey, I've got this, can you help or whatever. It's a wonderful thing that this internet has turned this subject into. But that's what I'm hearing, lots and lots more spirits coming through. I'm almost wondering if the veil isn't thinning, more. It just seems like they're more active because we're more active. I'm not sure, but it seems like more.
To me, it seems people are more and more in tune to it and more willing to accept it.
Yeah.
10 or 15 years ago when I was doing the chicken and peas circuit, you got a lot of...
Yeah. So true.
But now I'm getting a lot more, okay. Yeah, tell me, that sort of thing.
Also, too, it's like, I don't believe in ghosts, but there's this one time.
Exactly. A guy come up, I don't believe a thing about this ghost stuff. But listen, I was in my grandmother's house, and I swear to God, I looked over there was my grandmother making cookies.
Yeah, it's so true. And I'm betting you have to deal with... this, I'm reading a lot about this lost Dutchman mine and everybody going to look for it. And I'm hearing rumors about people finding this or finding that. From being on the inside of it like you are and so much day to day, what do you think about this whole thing? The lost Dutchman mine, do you think it's just the lure of the treasure? Do you think that there's something up there protecting it? Because, I'm Native American and I wouldn't mind if indigenous people were trying, ancestors were trying to protect something because why there should be protection for a lot of these sacred spots. But what do you think's going on there? Do you just think it's a lot of foolishness?
Oh no, there has been mining in the Superstition since the Spanish came through there. I mean, there are Spanish mine markings all over the place, and you can find prospects and mines all through the Superstitions. So personally, this is just my opinion. As far as the Lost Dutchman mine is concerned, there are a dozen different theories. Personally, I think it's already been found and played out.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that there's not lost treasure back there. There are legends of the Jesuits coming up from Mexico and hiding treasures back in the caves, back in the Superstitions, and
There's plenty of things up there to look for, but most of the time you guys are looking for missing hikers and, the missing kids have got to be awful. Is there any, of all the cases you've done, which one stands out to you, Dan, as, maybe it was the one that, for whatever reason, maybe they weren't found alive, but maybe it was a big closure for everybody involved, or what's that one or two cases that you'd like to share with us about that? Been so many.
The one case is there are a couple, but the one is the one I haven't had any closure on. I think I've solved it, but there's no, I've turned the information over to the police, but you can't use psychic information in a court of law.
Right.
So that one's still wide open. It's a heartbreaker. A little girl went missing. She's the one that got me started. On the other hand, there's several cases where I've worked the case, and when I say me, oftentimes it's me and several other people. But we've been able to find someone who has gone missing, and even if they're deceased, you say, well, we found him. And the family can, they're not wondering, is Bob lost? Is Bob run off?
Right.
Is there something wrong? Well, at least we know what happened to him, and we've done that several times. And it's
got to be heartbreaking.
It's not the ideal ending, but it's better than coming back with we didn't find him.
And then there's those ones. Everybody here in the chat tonight, we have a good friend who does. Steve Stockton with Bill. They run missing persons and disappearances. So a lot of these cases they go over with respect. Very well done. trying to give the families, a little bit more exposure. This person's still missing. This is, so we're looking at it from that point of view too, with the heart of the families, what they're going through, and of course the lost. But we also know there's these cases that just don't make any sense. And, how did he get there? How did, like this missing 411 stuff, just disappeared without a trace.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's fascinating. What are you seeing from your side on that? I know you've talked to the spirits a little bit from the latest book in the Pendulum 2.
Yeah.
You mentioned that they're telling us about other dimensions and things like that. What are you learning about that side of it? What are the spirits telling us?
Okay, yeah, again, that's another two-part. But sometimes in looking for missing person cases, working with a medium, I've been out working, and we're out searching in the desert, and the medium has told me, we're not going to find him today. And I would say, why? He said, because he doesn't want to be found.
Oh, wow.
And that case, that was a case of a plane crash, and the bodies were horribly mangled. And she said, I don't want my parents to see me like this.
Oh, jeez.
So the spirits were actually, she said, it'll take a year. They'll find me in a year. She said, but right now we're working against you guys finding us.
Wow. I never thought about that vantage point of the whole thing.
That has come up a couple of times. I don't want Mom to have to look at pictures of me like this.
Wow.
So,
but just when you get those different vantage points, though, it makes us look at it differently from their point of view. That's amazing.
Yeah, if you think about it, it does make sense. Would you want to make your parents go through something like that? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. To think that they have not just the want to do something like that, but that they'd have the energy and the wherewithal to understand how to do that. That's amazing. We're working against you finding us now. That's an amazing different way to look at it. Yeah. So what about the dimensions? What are we all hear about portals and mystic, maybe rips in time and things like that. What are they telling us about that?
Teaser, I covered that a lot in my next book, which will be out in spring, spring this year. Me and my buddy George Sewell looking into that.
Okay.
But in the current book, what I learned from them is that there are definitely other dimensions. Mm-hmm. When the spirits go through the white light, there is a white light. Mm-hmm. When you pass, you go into the white light. And there's a sense of movement. It's very pleasant, Mm-hmm. It's not like a roller coaster or something like that. It's just a pleasant journey. But they tell me that they can sense or they can see other dimensions. They can't go to them, but they can sense that they're there. So apparently the veil is very thin in the white light. So that according to the spirits, there definitely are other dimensions.
That's amazing, because I'm wondering, too, if at some time, we're all trying to figure out, we'll never know all the answers. When we do, it'll be too late. We'll have to come back and talk to people like you to communicate with it from the other side, because it also seems when they come over, they can only give us snippets of information, little bits and pieces, like it's a little puzzle for us to put together. But, they say that we have jobs over there, that we have choices to do, like you said, options, maybe to return back in. What have they told us about that? About reincarnation?
I'm trying to condense an awful lot of information here.
I know.
Basically, you go into the light, you cross over, and it's very true. Your friends and your family and your pets or whatever are there waiting for you. Mm-hmm. And what they tell me, and again, I have to preface this with, I'm just a reporter here, so I'm telling you what they're telling me. This is not my direct experience, but they tell me it's very Earth-like initially. Mm-hmm. More of an expanded Earth. In other words, you feel greater, you see more colors, you experience more feelings, you smell greater smells, but it's still very Earth-like. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason for that is just to lessen the shock of the wonder of it all. In other words, it's too wonderful over there. Mm-hmm. For somebody just to make that initial transition. You need kind of a transition phase. And in that Earth-like environment, they tell me you can stay there for as long as you want to. You can choose to reincarnate if you want to. You can choose to come back and visit your family and friends, or you can come back and visit a specific happy moment in your life, like a vacation. You also have the option of, if you've ever wanted to play the violin, there are classes you can go to play the violin.
Wow.
In other words, and if you want to develop spiritually, there are levels of spiritual development, like classes. That's the only word I can come up with that matches. But there are classes where you can continue your spiritual development and move on and on and on and on and on. And it's my opinion that the ghosts that we encounter are all the spirits that are in that first level.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, they're just in that first level and they're going in and out, because some of them, you and I have both found that some of them will cross, we talked about that earlier, cross over and come back to get earthbound spirits to cross over.
Right.
And also they come back just to visit because they had a good experience in this place or something like that. Like the young man who came back who was at a wedding. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah, that's the Marine. Yeah, that's a great story.
Tell us a little bit about that. It's fascinating.
Yeah, there's a ranch out here. It's a ghost ranch. Okay. And it's got several buildings, and there was an old barn. It has a cement floor now, but back in the day it had a wooden floor. And we recorded an EVP there of cowboy boots walking on a wooden floor, which was really interesting because there wasn't a wooden floor there. But we interviewed this guy, and he was a Marine. Back in 1939, I think, he got married. He was a rancher, just a ranch hand, good old boy.
Wow.
And he got married to his sweetheart, and the owner of the ranch there threw a big party, in the barn, and they had the guitars and the fiddles, and they were passing the jug around, and he was dancing with the love of his life. It was the happiest day of his life.
Wow.
And 2 years later, Pearl Harbor, he joins the Marines, goes over to the Pacific, gets blown up on one of the islands.
Oh, man.
Tragic story, but we were talking to him, and he says, I'm translating, but basically he said, I'm coming back to the happiest day of my life. I experienced, the night I married my sweetheart.
Isn't that
so
something?
He comes back and enjoys that.
Isn't that something? See, that's what I mean, chat, when, a lot of us are having these conversations, we jump to conclusions a lot. Like somebody walks in, they get a couple of words here and there, and already they've got the big story. But you don't know unless you spend time, like Dan will tell you. It's almost like therapy, right, Dan? You go back, you have to go a couple times and create like a relationship with them to get a lot of this information and to untangle it all and figure out they might not even need help. He's perfectly fine. He's just experiencing the happiest day of his life.
Yeah, imagine. Well, again, Maddie's a perfect example. We misunderstood what she was doing on Earth. It took a couple of times to figure that out. Yeah, the same thing could have been happening with the Marine. We could have been trying to free him. Release him.
I don't want to go.
No. I'm with my baby,
Yeah, I'm having a good time. It took me a lot to get. It probably took a lot of energy, to get there. We're still trying to understand all of that,
Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, from what I understand, they are at a much higher frequency, so it's really hard for them basically to slow down to our frequency. That's why the communication is so hard with EVPs, for example. That's one of the reasons I like the pendulum, because it doesn't take an awful lot of energy for a spirit to help you with the pendulum, because you're connecting with your higher self, and you're connecting basically spirit to spirit. So you're with the pendulum, you're able to get a lot more information in a shorter period of time.
And it's almost just a conduit. Dan, just like anything else. It's like I use dowsing rods. It's no different, chat, than when we used to look and find water. What we call witching sticks.
Witching stick, yeah.
Yeah. It's the same type of thing, but it's just an extension of our energy and their energy to be able to get together and create this communication. And it's almost like where people use tarot cards and things like that just to validate what you're already feeling. Really, I know when I use dowsing rods, I've already got the yes. The dowsing rods are just confirming what I'm already feeling, and it gives us a little boost. We're like, okay, I thought so. And then the next question. And it's a little harder with the dowsing rods because what Dan does, and he can explain it better than I do, he kind of asks yes or no questions till he can kind of box in the subject. So if he's trying to find out if somebody is lost, you'll say, hey, well, is he here on this road or whatever? Can you explain that a little bit about how you get the information and zero in?
Yeah, for example, if I'm looking for a missing person, say, well, good example, we found somebody a missing kid in Colorado. His dad murdered him.
Oh,
And
jeez.
yeah, 12-year-old boy.
Oh, my
And we
God.
were up there looking for him because it's one of those cases where everybody knows who did it, but there's no evidence to prove it.
Right.
So you find the body, you have some evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I was using the pendulum from here. This is over in cases in Colorado. I'm in over in Mesa, Arizona, and time and space mean nothing. In the psychic world.
Right.
So basically, I asked, yes, if I hold my pendulum. If it swings to the right, that's a yes. If it swings to the left, that's a no. If it goes back and forth, I need to rephrase the question. So what I call it shrinking the box. So is the kid in Colorado? Yes. Is the kid in southern Colorado? Yes. Is the kid in XYZ county? Yes. Mm-hmm. Is he north of this highway? Yes. Is he south of this highway? No. Mm-hmm. Eventually, you can get the area down to a size where you can go on, get a topological map or Google Earth. Mm-hmm. And with Google Earth, I can get, latitude and longitude.
Mm. That's amazing.
You can get, if I'm wrong, they can go there and they know right away that I'm wrong. I'm off. Psychics have bad days too. Mm-hmm. But if I'm right, you go there, there's what you're looking for within a very small area, searchable area.
Mm. And it's also frustrating, too. It's got to be frustrating, Dan, because you've got all these people together using their gifts, doing what we're supposed to do, I feel, on this earth, helping each other, using our talent, whatever that may be. I don't care if you're a car mechanic or a contractor or what. And then you go through all this, and the police you're working with have to find a way to be able to use the evidence and have that admissible in a court of law, or at least for them to do the next step. It's very frustrating for psychics, psychic detectives, and anything like this in this line. It's equally, just heartbreaking in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, you can't blame the police.
Right.
How did you find the missing body? Well, I was talking to the dead person the other day.
Yeah.
You're out. But in this case, in Colorado, I came up with 2 lat longs on a specific area. Now that information, you can't take it to the court, but the cops went to that area. Mm-hmm. They found bones. The DNA proved it was the kid in one location. They found the other location that I pinpointed. They think that's where the murder occurred. Mm. Right, because the cops went there and they found the information. They can take that to the court. Mm-hmm. So that's where the psychics can come in. We can point them in the right direction, and then they can get the evidence that they can use in court. Mm. That's our value.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and the value of this whole thing. At this point, like I said, a lot of these people in the chat, they've been in this most of their life, interested. They've found their path, and the way they investigate, the way that they use their gifts, whatever aspect they have here. So we're all kind of in that same boat. What gets me, the thing that just really warms my heart, is that we're starting to realize that if we just get together as a group, we can do so much more. And you guys are doing that. And the books you write, simplistic view on just using the dowsing rods and how you can use it to develop your abilities and maybe use it to help. I was involved in a couple of cases where I was just a conduit, where I said, okay, this person's missing, white car. I've had remote viewers and everybody working on the same case to try to point. We didn't find her in time. She had died instantly. We found her 3 days after, but it was all the things collectively everybody said. She's under a canopy. You can't see it from the plane, the plane view. She's in water. We narrowed it down, and it's an amazing thing to be a part of. Tonight, most of the thing I wanted to do was also show what it's like in Arizona and these. Yeah, I can hear you.
You just popped up. I can now hear you.
You can hear me now? Okay, good.
I don't know what you did, but
okay.
There.
There you are. Okay, you're back. Okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna turn this down so we don't get. I don't know. I think one of the spirits, messing with us tonight, Dan. I think
Somebody,
maybe they're trying to tell us something too. But that's the thing that warms the heart when people can find a way to use this technology and everything, as crazy as it is, but for really good things. And I also wanted everybody to get an idea of. We're always hearing, like I said, the stories about missing persons in all through the desert and the mountains and things like that. But to really get a good look at that kind of terrain and what it's like and how hot during the day, unbearably hot, killer temperatures, and then in the night as well, the opposite, the freezing and everything. The people that go up to find and search for these lost and missing, the search and rescue, the police, the dog teams, all of that. It's an amazing thing. But, paranormal is getting to be a lot like that too. But we're just almost trying to find the lost and missing ghosts and trying to understand about that. I think that your books, here, the last one too, with you had something on the back of it. It was a list, and I wanted to ask you a question. It was amazing, guys. And it's written, almost looks like a Christmas tree. And it had some great questions on it about what spirits are telling us about pets. That's it right there on the back? Yes.
there we go. Just happen to have a copy here handy.
And my mods are putting up all your links, Dan. We've got all of your links here to the 4 Nights and
Four
also...
Nights Press.
Yes, 4 Nights Press, and we've got the other one. If you guys throw up that one for the danbrown.com too, they can get the books through there, Dan?
Go to Amazon or Kindle or Barnes, wherever you buy your books. They're available in ebook and in paperback.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to make sure, because everybody here, they're book readers, they love it. That's definitely one that you guys are going to want to get a hold of, because it's a lot of time that Dan has spent, like he said, going through these stories and trying to decipher what they're telling us. Now, I have a lot of pet owners in here, and we've had a lot of different pet communicators saying, I think Dwight Hull is
Dwight, he's a very good.
We're going to have to get you guys on here together to tell stories and stuff. It's a wonderful group. This is not the last time Dan's going to be on. I'm going to get Dan on often to come in, because we could have him on 50 times and you're not going to touch the stories. I mean, it's amazing, amazing life. But there was one that had a little something to do with a time slip. You were with the Hulls and you went and broke away from them. We were off a dirt road somewhere, and you guys lost each other. Do you remember that story?
Yeah, we were at it's a ghost town and a ghost mine. It's called Sasco. It's north of Tucson. And we went in an area about the size of a football field. There's an open field. There's a very thin, narrow wash, and
that's for sure. Dan is a good guy.
There's a hill up to the right, and I left them down in this little narrow field, about 50 yards wide, maybe 100 yards long. I said, I'm going to go up to the top of the hill and see if there are any petroglyphs up there. And y'all walk down to the other side, and I'll meet you over there. So I scramble up the hill. They're out of sight. Maybe half an hour, and I come back down to the end of the field, and they're not there. So I shout and holler and shout. I don't hear from them. So I walk back down the little field. I'm shouting and hollering, nothing. I get down to the other end, cross over the little wash. I mean, it's about a foot deep, not a big gully or anything. And go to my car, next to their car, and I honk the horn 3 or 4 times, wait, honk 3 or 4 times, wait, honk 3 or 4 times, shout, hear nothing, drink some water, honk the horn again. I'm sitting there, and then I look down the road about 100 yards away. I can see Dwight. So I start walking down, and I meet Dwight about halfway. I said, hi, where's Rhonda? He said, well, she's down by the cars. I said, no, she's not. I just came from there. Well, he said, no, she just walked down the road. I said, no, I just walked up the road, and we didn't pass each other. So Dwight and I walked back, and there's Rhonda back at the car. Where have you been, Dan? I have been here. Somehow, I was one place and they were at another place at the same place. There's no way I could have walked down that road, or she could have walked down that road and not miss each other.
Yeah. And you were so close to each other, you would have passed each other at least twice. You know, when you were telling the story, I was listening. You're leaning on the horn, she can't hear it. Now, I'm
100 yards
wondering,
away.
yeah, I'm wondering how in the world, is this a time slip? Is it
Well,
what do you think?
what we think happened, we were listening to our recording playback, and we had said something. I believe it was Rhonda had said something about. I wish we knew what it was like from your side, what it's like trying to communicate to us from your side. And I think we got a taste of it. I think
Wow.
they arranged that to show how hard it is to communicate.
It is an
I
amazing
think that
world.
was the lesson.
Well, be careful what you wish for, Dan.
Exactly.
Because, you know, and you often wonder, now you've got me thinking all kinds of things. They're actually trying to keep you from finding them. Makes perfect sense. You know, all the different things with Maddie coming over. She's wound up over the past couple of years being our greatest teacher. All the different, you know, where the revelations of realizing she was here to help. And I'm hearing a lot about that. Like I said, a lot of people coming back, especially those that had an abusive life, addictive life, some kind of addiction, problem with maybe getting them down the wrong road with crime or whatever, maybe coming back and stopping somebody else that's headed that way. I'm seeing a lot of that. And I think we've just scratched the surface here, Dan, on the things that we can learn about living from the dead, to be kind to each other, to help out, because it seems like if we don't live it right this time, we're going to have to come back and help others to maybe lift our vibration. Do you think that that's possible?
I don't know. I don't know if karma is involved or what, but there are definitely people coming back to try to straighten some things out, or at least try to teach us lessons. I've talked to Native Americans who are on the warpath, and you know, why are you coming back here? And we got the message: just all is forgiven. So, you know, on this side, we forgive you for what you did to us, and y'all forgive us for what you did to us. And we're trying to bring that message back across to this plane. Yeah, we don't have to be at each other's throats all the time.
Right, right. And we are accountable. We are absolutely accountable for the things that we do.
Oh, yeah,
And
one thing, there definitely is a life review. You get to go through what everything you've done.
yeah, I think for some of us that's going to be hard, you know, and some people I know it's going to be even harder, but if we start doing good things for each other now, maybe we can get some of that. Like I always bring up Marley and his chains and his many cash boxes, you know, made it one link at a time, right?
Yeah.
Well, people like you, Dan, I'll tell you what, you should be light as a feather with all the good that you've done here. You've really shared a lot of your intelligence through the books. Dan has wonderful, tell us a little bit about the books that you write. Is it a series of Western novels that you have as well? Is it a series or is it?
Well, I write westerns. I've got a couple of western series, Caldera series. I've got a thriller series called the Ashley Hayes Mysteries. I've got 3 books, a series based on Jack Ruby, if you can believe that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I just released a new one, but it's Jack Ruby was an interesting cat. It's fiction, but there's a lot of truth involved in that.
I'd love to talk to you about that. I could talk a little Jack Ruby now.
It's called, this one's called Sparky and the Twins. Jack Ruby's nickname was Sparky.
Sparky.
And the twins are Lee and Harvey Oswald.
Wow.
There were 2 of them.
Well, I'm going to have to dig into that one because I think we could probably talk. Dan and I are going to meet at the bar later, and we're going to have our own conversation about JFK assassination. But this has been absolutely amazing, my friend. And, you know, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but, you know, we could dig and dig. Will you come back and,
Anytime.
you know, and share us? We'll take the books. We'll take the books one at a time. I think they need to all be looked at, the pendulum books together, and then the other stuff as well, because this last one I haven't gotten a chance to get it, but I'd like to get it and have you on again after I read it, because
it's an eye-opener.
Delightful. Yeah. And this is what I'm digging at now. I mean, at this point, Dan, I'm not looking to prove there's ghosts. I don't care if you believe me or not. You know,
Right.
it's because the thing is we've learned, like an old elder told me once about, you know, you can't force somebody, you know, to see something they're not ready to see. Their mind can't handle it. It's not just willfulness or them being, you know, jaded or anything else. It's just their consciousness isn't ready for it at this time of their journey. You know, like
I'm a
Dan
perfect
came across
example.
his. Go ahead.
No, I'm a perfect example.
Right.
I wasn't ready till I was 50.
There it is.
Yeah.
Same thing. And then things just started almost downloading and uncovering. Like it
Snowball.
was just, wow, there
Yeah.
it is. And the more you connect into it, the more they connect into you. So I think that, you know, your group that you're working with, and I know you're shifting this and that. It's almost like you're trying to do so much at once. You're into everything, but you do everything so well. And I just,
Thank you.
you know, I admire you not only as someone who does so many interesting things, but we need people with integrity in this field. We need people who are still trying to learn how to be good human beings to each other. And I think that also spreads. The light always finds a way, doesn't it, Dan?
Exactly.
You know, and being out there where you are. One more quick story and I'll let you go, but I got to tell them a little teaser about the EVP you got from quite an ancient group of indigenous people out there. Do you remember that?
Which one?
It was one where you were thinking that you were talking to Apache, but it wasn't. It was further back.
Oh yeah, we went to a place. It's called. It's an old Spanish fort that back in the 1700s, and they set it up. And the Apache said, "No, you're not going to do that."
Yeah.
And they were right. But we were conducting a session there, and we caught what we thought were Native Americans. But as we went on, we discovered they were basically cave people, cavemen, Cro-Magnon. We were asking. It came out kind of strange. They didn't know what a spear or what a bow and arrow was.
Right.
We could communicate, but we didn't have the same terminology. They didn't know what a throwing stick was. And then at one point, I described what is called a Clovis point. It's a spearhead. It's very distinctive of that
Yes.
culture. You know, 10,000, 12,000 years ago. They knew exactly what that was. And then we asked, well, are there very big animals with long noses? Yes. We were talking to Cro-Magnon people.
Wow.
That was fascinating.
That is absolutely fascinating because I get a lot of questions often from the listeners that say, well, how far back can you go? How far back? Well, I don't think it's a question of how far back can you go. It's their interest. Are they here for something? Because again, we've learned they're not always here and stuck. They're here and they come back for times they think it's important to come back for, like to stop something from being moved or destroyed or something along those lines, or you know, to slow down an investigation. They don't want to be found yet.
Yeah, that happened. That happened.
All of this, it's an amazing thing, Dan, and you've uncovered things that I've not seen in other places. So keep doing what you're doing and keep sharing it with us.
Will do. Call me
Yeah.
back anytime.
Oh,
Love it.
gosh. I love you so much, my friend. And one more time, plug the book. This is the newest one. This is the newest one right here. This is the one you got to get, guys. The Paranormal Pendulum 2. And that's got a lot of the stories and a lot of the things that, you know, that the dead are dying to tell us, basically. And Dan's listening, and we're listening too, Dan. I love you so much, my friend. Keep
God bless
safe
you.
out there. And, you know, keep all that good stuff going on. And there you go, guys. Now you found some of the people that are out looking for the missing. And thank God you're out there, Dan. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And you have a wonderful night.
Oh,
We'll
you
get
too.
in touch and we'll get another scheduled time. We'll come
Oh,
back
let's
and talk
do it.
some more. Let's
Love
do
it.
it.
Love to chat with you.
Thank you so much, my friend. Good
Bye-bye.
night, everybody. Good night.